Today we'll be talking about Antarctic and oceans during 20th and 21st century, and I will be investigating the question, what are the reasons for calling the Antarctic an example of positive peace, and are there even any examples? So first I will begin with what is Antarctic. Antarctic is a no permanent human habitation island, and it does not have any government. The only permanent citizens that are on the island are the scientists and support staff. It is people who are investigating the island and its territory. It was found back in 1820 by American, English, Germany, and Russian scientists. The role of the Antarctic is the global thermometer regulating the world's climate system. Therefore, if the global warming will come, the first it will hit the Antarctic, and then the population will know what's happening. Moreover, it has no government, so the expeditions and investigations are most important there because maybe there are chances to find something like oils or permanent or possible living for humans. Also, we'll be talking about oceans. Oceans were and are the way of transporting, traveling, and also one of the way to get from one place to another was ships. And when the territory wanted to be gained, the war needed to appear. Therefore, there was a lot of conflicts on war, or also cases. Now I will be talking about my 10 cases that I chose and the conflicts on Antarctic and oceans. My 10th will be talking about the question. So I started with the Pacific Ocean. Japan in 1941 created a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. They attacked the United States Pacific Fleet. In 1942, United States got more powerful Navy and pilots and they destroyed the Japanese first land carrier of strength. However, in 1944, Japan's counterattack resulted in the Greater Carrier Battle of World War II. In Atlantic Ocean, Falklands Islands had a war between in 1982. It was a war between Argentina and Great Britain for sovereignty. However, the Great Britain had more strength and became a victory in the end. Achieved the victory in the end. In 1912, the Titanic sank. Yes, it's not a conflict, but it's also the case that was looking because of amount of deaths that happened on the ship. So there were several regulations. Why did it appear? For example, like weather. It was horrible weather on the ocean at that time, especially it's really cold in there. Also, the speed of the ship was too high, and therefore the regulations was impossible because it was impossible to turn. And security and emergency equipment were not enough on the ship. And that's why people just died because they just did not have enough protection. So the year the ship was built, the year it died or sunk. In 1914, the Battle of Atlantic began, where German ships were attacked by British and, of course, won the battle. In the Atlantic Ocean, in 1959, the American nuclear submarine was the first submarine that broke the ice from below on the North Pole and started the investigation there. But on the Southern Ocean, however, the third German Antarctic expedition began. On the Indian Ocean in 1942, the Japanese invasion started on India. Now I will talk about my 10th case study that I chose about Antarctic Treaty that was created in 1961. The Cold War tension between USA and Soviet Union made the two parties claim a part of Antarctica or took it full. However, the scientists that were trying to achieve to Antarctica and actually achieved there, they also wanted the part to investigate there. Therefore, the International stewardship of the religion could diffuse potential conflict, and therefore it was divided to several parts, and more than 8 countries now have a claim and power upon several parts of Antarctica. According to Galtung's triangle, there is no violence. There is no cultural, there is no direct or structural violences, just because there is no government in there, and it's not the kind of continents or islands where supposed to be war coming or any type of violence appears, because there's no people, there is nobody's fighting, because people just want to investigate it. It also creates an international global peace in outer and inter peace diagram, because there is absence of war, balance of forces, no structural violences, and other peace cases that just luckily not be on the Antarctic, because there is no fights possible can be created. All of the countries that has a part of Antarctic are working unilaterally, because even if the conflict appears, they're right away managing it because of the treaty that they had. If some of the countries want to create a conflict, they're right away being kicked out, and this part is given to another country that wanted this part. The power is not a common thing on Antarctic, just because there is no government itself, so there is no power. However, with the use of unilateralism, countries are working together with the smart power. They're putting economy, so economic system on Arctic is actually really high, because the investigation needs a lot of money. And if an investigation happens, then the science increase its understanding on Antarctic. Therefore, with the use of smart power, the economy is just increasing on Antarctic. And nowadays, the global warming is the biggest issue. The more countries will see that ice is melting, so it means there is more fish or possible fish. And it means that it is possible for achieving some goods. Water expeditions, not only what is inside, but what it can hide inside the waters to maybe have more money. And investigation for living. Maybe there are chances for people to actually live in Antarctic, and it's one more continent where people will be living. However, everyone is now trying to prevent and fight for global warming, and for sure not in this generation. If people will not make it only worse, we will not be listening about global warming, and there will not be a lot of chances for other countries to just claim parts of Antarctic for its own good. It will probably bring to conflicts around. In the conclusion, what are the reasons for calling the Antarctic an example of positive peace? There are several, because there is no violence, because there is just no violence to create with, no conflicts, no structural, no direct, no cultural violences. It's like empty paper. It's just, it seems like we just began living there. There is no conflict, and therefore it's keeping the peace on global international levels, because the countries who are claiming these parts are actually keeping the peace. They're keeping the smart power, because with the use of higher economy, the more investigation happens. And maybe if one of them will find something, they will kind of supposed to share, but share with their own country, because it's part of the Antarctic that they are powerful upon. Moreover, there's all countries working unilaterally. So even if the conflict will appear between country that wants to gain the power up on Antarctic, all of the countries that now has power up on it will manage the conflict really fast. Therefore, it's first, and everybody hopes that it's last example of long-lasting peace, positive peace that Galtung was talking about. The economic growth goes only up. There is no structural violence. People are doing everything. No, I mean, scientists are doing everything by their investigation, by their will. And also, there is no conflicts or no future war that can appear. Therefore, there are reasons for calling an Antarctic an example of positive peace. Thank you so much for listening.